Good afternoon. We'll bring the Committee on Ways and Means Committee back to order. And members, we're going to start with another work session. Then we will roll into the morning agenda. We will adjourn, and then we will open the second agenda for the evening. We will be taking a break to go down to the third house, come back here, do a lot of work, and go back to the floor. It depends on what time that is if we come back again. So that's the lay of the land for today. So we're going to start with the first item on work session, and that is AB 212.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 212, as amended, removes the pilot from Virtual Early Childhood Family Engagement Pilot Program name and extends the prospective expiration date of the program from September 30th to 2025 to September 30th, 2027, effectively extending the program for another biennium. Section 6 of this bill contains a general fund appropriation of $1 million in each year of the biennium for the Department of Health and Human Services for costs associated with the program. And there are no proposed amendments, so if the committee wished to approve this, it would be a do pass as amended.
Thank you, members. Any questions? Not seeing any. I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. Moving on to the next item on our work session agenda, it's AB 221.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Lizer, Fiscal Analysis Division. Assembly Bill 221 was presented by Assemblymember Edgeworth on May 26th. The bill exempts a physician's office or certain healthcare facilities from state permitting requirements for administering general anesthesia or sedation to dental patients, provided the physician is also licensed as a dentist, holds a dental anesthesia permit, and administers sedation solely within the scope of that permit. The Division of Public and Behavioral Health had initially submitted a fiscal note, but provided written confirmation on April 24th that they were removing their fiscal note as the reduction to fee revenue and operating reserves was immaterial. There were no proposed amendments, so Madam Chair, the motion here would be do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions on Assembly Bill 221? Not seeing any. I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. The next item on our work session agenda is Assembly Bill 234.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 234 was heard in committee on May 26. Assembly Bill 234, as amended, requires the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services to include screening for lung, prostate, and colorectal cancer under Medicaid in the same manner as other provisions related to Medicaid. The bill, as introduced, had a general fund impact of $771,000 in 2026 and approximately $1.6 million in 2027. However, there was a conceptual amendment that was proposed during the hearing, which would change the language in Chapter 422 of NRS to indicate that in subsection 1A, the director shall include under Medicaid coverage for screening for lung cancer, colorectal cancer, and prostate cancer, and it strikes the provisions of subsection B, indicating all available evidence-based methods of screening for colorectal cancer. Madam Chair, the representative from the Division of Healthcare, Finance, and Policy testified that with this conceptual change, it would address the fiscal impact. So if the committee wished to approve this, it would be an amend, do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions on Assembly Bill 234? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend and do pass as amended.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. The next item on our work session will be Assembly Bill 243.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser. Assembly Bill 243 was heard in committee on May 26th. It was presented by Assembly Member Hibbets. The bill increases the partial exemption from property taxes and governmental services taxes for the surviving spouse of a member of the Armed Forces of the United States who is killed in action, and allows the surviving spouse who qualifies for such exemptions to request the deposit of an amount equal to the partial exemption to the gift account for the Veterans Home in Southern Nevada, or the gift account for the Veterans Home in Northern Nevada. There were several fiscal notes submitted just indicating that impacts were unable to be determined as a result from the legislation, including from the Department of Transportation and the State Treasurer's Office, as well as the Department of Taxation. There was a conceptual amendment that was discussed during the bill hearing, and that amendment generally adds language to clarify that this would, or adds a definition for a Nevada Gold Star surviving spouse to the bill. And so, Madam Chair, if you wish, the motion here would be amend and do pass.
Members, any questions on Assembly Bill 243? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend and do pass. Second.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 251.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 251 was heard in committee on May 26. Assembly Bill 251, as amended, revises provisions governing custom processing establishments and mobile processing units for certain purposes relating to the inspection of meat and poultry. Specifically, the bill, as amended, requires the state quarantine officer to adopt regulations providing a process for a person to obtain a license to operate a mobile processing unit to slaughter certain animals for commercial basis for interstate commerce and intrastate sales. Madam Chair, there was a fiscal note related to this from the Department of Agriculture as introduced. The fiscal impact was for $265,000 in fiscal year 2026 and $200,000 in fiscal year 2027. However, the bill as amended included language in the bill that said if decision unit E905 from the Department of Health and Human Services Environmental Health Budget account were approved by the legislature and the governor, which transferred 12 positions to oversee the Environmental Health Services program to the Department of Agriculture and Dairy Fund, then there would no longer be a fiscal impact associated with this. In addition, the second criteria to this would be that a Senate Bill 466 would also need to be passed in order to address the fiscal impact. During the testimony, Department of agriculture representatives indicated that if 466 didn't pass, then there would be a delay in the services, but that the department could still maintain those. So, Madam Chair, if the subcommittee wished to approve this, then it would be a do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions on Assembly Bill 251? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
After
That was really bad. It's really bad.
well done.
So we have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hodeke. Any discussion on the motion?
Killed it.
Seeing none, all in favor, please say move. Move. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the next item on our work session agenda, it'll be Assembly Bill 284.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Lizer. Assembly Bill 284 was heard on May 26th. Was presented by Assemblymember Brown May. AB 284, as amended, requires Medicaid to request on or before October 1st, 2025, federal authority to provide reimbursement rates greater than or equal to 80% of the costs for a vagus nerve stimulation device, any replacement part for such a device, and associated medical procedures. The bill also clarifies that the established reimbursement rate would be in addition to and separate from any associated medical care. There was a proposed amendment that was discussed during the bill hearing that would provide clarification to the unbundling of the reimbursement rate. With the proposed amendment, the Division of Healthcare Financing and Policy submitted a revised fiscal note, and with that amendment, the fiscal impact would be in fiscal year 26 would require general funds of $54,728. In fiscal year 27 would require general fund appropriations of $240,004. It would also, in addition to the general fund, there would be federal funds to assist with the costs. In fiscal year 26, the authorized federal funds would be $188,270. And in fiscal year 27, the authorized federal funds would be $700,098. So, Madam Chair, if you wish to move this, there would be an amendment to, or the motion to accept the amendment that was presented, the proposed amendment that was discussed at the bill hearing, and then also an amendment to add the funding that I just walked through. And the motion here would be amend, do pass as amended.
Members, are there any questions? If you remember, we heard this bill yesterday, and in the testimony given by Assemblymember Brown May and the representative from the Department of Health and Human Service, although there is a funding component with this bill, the money that the state would save by implementing the nerve stimulation device was much lower than what they're currently paying for the actual prescription medication, so it would be an actual savings to the state. So are there any questions on Assembly Bill 284? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, I would amend and do pass as
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Watts. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next bill on our work session is Assembly Bill 296.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 296 was heard in committee on May 26. Assembly Bill 296 as amended requires the Department of Motor Vehicles to contract with a state licensed installment loan provider to offer loans through an electronic branch office to offer installment loans to vehicle owners to pay the applicable fees and taxes that are due for the initial or renewal registration for a vehicle if the department has the ability to register or renew the registration for a vehicle online. As amended, the bill also authorizes the Department of Motor Vehicles to permit and the use of a digital license plate through the department's approved vendors and establish specific requirements for the license plate devices. With respect to the fiscal impact, the DMV did determine that it has sufficient resources to carry out the provisions, and so they had removed their original fiscal note. In addition, the Department of Corrections had indicated that there was no fiscal impact associated with the bill. Madam Chair, there was one conceptual amendment, and that would be to revise Section 1.5C to indicate that there shall not charge the, to read, shall not charge the vehicle owner any combination of fees for the installment loan which exceeds 15% of the amount financed. And Madam Chair, that is the only amendment, so if you were to approve this, it would be an amend do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, do you have any questions on Assembly Bill 296? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair,
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hodegay. Any discussion on the amendment? Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to vote this out of committee, but reserve my rights for the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Moving on to the next item on our work session agenda, Assembly Bill 328.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser. Assembly Bill 328 was heard on May 26th, was presented by Assemblymember De Silva and Senator Neal. AB 328 creates the subcommittee to study and develop policy recommendations for African Americans of the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education to study issues and make recommendations to the legislature to certain matters of racial discrimination. There was initially a fiscal note submitted by the Nevada System of Higher Education. However, the amended version of the bill under R1, and she did indicate that their fiscal note was no longer applicable and removed that fiscal impact. The Senator Neal, during the bill hearing, did discuss and present a conceptual amendment to also add a Juneteenth Educational and Economic Commission as part of the bill, and there was testimony and confirmation that that additional amendment would not create a fiscal impact to the state. Madam Chair, the motion here would be amend, do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions on Assembly Bill 328? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, item
Thank you so much. We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Watts. Any discussion on the amendment? Assemblymember Hafen?
Thank you, Chair. I know that we have budgeted for, I believe, 6 studies, but it's my understanding there's almost a dozen that are out there floating around. I'm going to vote yes out of committee right now, but reserve my rights pending how all of the various studies play out. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblymember Dickman? Yeah. O'Neill? Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. The next item on our work session agenda is Assembly Bill 331.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 331 was heard in committee on May 26. Assembly Bill 331 appropriates general fund appropriations of $220,000 in each year of the 2025 to 27 biennium to the Department of Health and Human Services for a grant program to expand the biennial Youth Risk Behavioral Surveillance System Survey, which is developed by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention and is administered pursuant to NRS 392-422. Madam Chair, the fiscal impact associated with this is the general fund, and there was one amendment that was provided by Assemblymember Brown May to replace the Department of Health and Human Services with the Division of Public and Behavioral Health, and to strike boards of trustees of school districts or governing bodies of charter schools. And so, Madam Chair, if the committee wished to approve this, it would be an amend and do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions on Assembly Bill 331? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hodeggy. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. Moving on, our next work session bill will be Assembly Bill 336.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 336 was presented on May 26th. This bill makes certain changes to preferences applied in state purchasing contracts. Specifically, it eliminates the prohibition against combining the preferences for a Nevada-based business and a local business owned and operated by a veteran with a service-connected disability. The change provides for a combined preference of 10% for a bid or proposal for a state purchasing contract submitted by a business that meets the requirements for both preferences. Madam Chair, there were no fiscal impacts identified with this piece of legislation, and there were no amendments presented during the bill hearing. Motion here would be do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions on Assembly Bill 336? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion to do pass from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hodeggy. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. The next item on our work session agenda is Assembly Bill 428.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 428, as amended, requires certain public and private health insurance plans in Nevada, including Medicaid, to cover medically necessary fertility preservation services for individuals diagnosed with breast or ovarian cancer if the disease or its treatment may cause infertility. The bill allows insurers to opt out of this coverage under certain circumstances, and the bill also authorizes the Commissioner of Insurance to enforce compliance and permit revocation of licenses for noncompliance. Madam Chair, there were several fiscal notes on this bill. Public Employees Benefits Program had a fiscal note of $216,707 in fiscal year 2027 related to possible additional claims. In addition, the Division of Insurance had a fiscal note of $87,500 in fiscal year 2026 and $175,000 in fiscal year 2027 related to general fund defrayal. And finally, the Division of Healthcare Finance and Policy, as introduced, had a general fund impact of $227,532 in fiscal year 2026 and $426,522 in fiscal year 27. The Division of Healthcare Finance and Policy did submit a conceptual amendment that would adjust the implementation date to January 1st, 2027. And if that were approved, they had indicated that that would reduce their fiscal impact to $158,600 in fiscal year 2026, $69,434 in fiscal year 2027, with authorizations of federal funding of $225,800 in fiscal year 2026 and $193,008 in 2027. So, Madam Chair, if you wish to approve this bill, the amounts that I just identified for Medicaid would need to be amended into the bill, as well as the conceptual amendment that was provided by the Division of Healthcare Finance and Policy. So, Madam Chair, if the committee wished to approve this, it would be an amend, do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions on the bill description or the amendments? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion on Assembly Bill 428.
Move to amend and do pass as amended.
Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadid. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. The next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 49.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 49 was heard in committee on May 16th. It makes several changes related to the licensing of education personnel and allows a school district or charter school to hire on a provisional basis an individual that holds a license to teach in another state. The bill further requires the Commission on Professional Standards to prescribe qualifications regarding the licensure and endorsements of certain teachers and teachers, school nurses, and school social workers. Lastly, the bill requires the Department of Education to waive all or portion of the fees for an initial license to teach if the applicant already holds a substitute teacher license or endorsement. Madam Chair, there was a fiscal note that was provided by the Department of Education as submitted and amended, indicating that the fiscal impact would be $503,678 in fiscal year 2026 and $529,073 in fiscal year 2027, related to enhancing licensing systems to support provisional licenses to support the cost of background checks as fees are waived by the provisions of the bill, as well as one management analyst. However, during the hearing, there was discussion related to removing Section 3, which would eliminate the revenue loss that was associated with this particular bill. There was still discussion related to the need for NDE to have one management analyst position. However, there was also a suggestion that was made that would put the responsibility of this onto the counties as opposed to the NDE. And with that change, Madam Chair, I believe the fiscal impact would be addressed. So if the committee wished to approve Assembly Bill 449, it would be an amend, do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions on Assembly Bill 49? As amended. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend and do pass as amended.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Heidegger. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The last bill for work session at this time will be Assembly Bill 500.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Assembly Bill 500 provides for the licensure and regulation by the Commissioner of Financial Institutions for payment banks. The bill sets forth various powers and duties of the Commissioner with respect to licensure and regulations of payment banks. Sets forth various powers and duties for the payment banks. Requires that the deposit accounts for payment banks be insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation or a private insurer approved by the Commissioner and the Commissioner of Insurance, or the payment bank obtains the approval of the Commissioner to operate without such insurance, authorizing payment banks to establish and maintain offices in Nevada. It also requires payment banks to provide certain reports and information to the Commissioner, and prohibits payment banks from making loans and engaging in various activities related to loans, and imposes certain penalties upon payment banks for the engagement of certain prohibited acts. Madam Chair, there were two amendments that were provided during the hearing. The first was submitted by Speaker Yeager, and the second amendment was submitted by the Secretary of State. I would also note that there was a fiscal note that was submitted by the Department of Business and Industries, Financial Institutions Division. They had indicated that the fiscal impact for this would be, give me one moment. $3,035,862 in fiscal year 2026, and $2,778,095 in fiscal year 2027. During the hearing, they had indicated that they would need startup money from the general fund in order to account for this. And then going forward, there would be fee funding that the agency would be able to generate in order to continue to pay for these ongoing expenditures related to personnel to support this new activity. And so, Madam Chair, if the committee wished to approve this, it would be an amend and do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions on Assembly Bill 500 as amended? Not seeing any, I will accept a motion.
I move to amend and do pass. Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Assemblymember O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. I want to commend our speaker for some very imaginative work on putting this together, and I have great faith in him. But I've talked with some other folks that understand banking much better than I do, I think, and they brought up some issues to me. I've got to say, I think it's just a bridge too far. I'll be voting no today on the committee for the bill. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. We have Assemblymember O'Neill, Assemblymember Dickman, Assemblymember Hafen, and with that, the motion passes. Thank you so much. We're going to be in recess just for a moment, waiting on the sponsor of the first bill that's on our agenda. While we're waiting on the other member, we will go a little out of order, and we will open the hearing for Assembly Bill 504 and invite Assemblymember Dahlia to the table.
Ready to start.
Good afternoon, Assemblyman. You can go ahead and get started. Assembly Bill 504 establishes certain deceptive trade practices relating to the sale of and/or offer to sell certain hemp products.
Thank you, Chairman Moreno, Vice Chair Bacchus, members of this esteemed committee. For the record, Assemblymember Joe Dahlia for the record, Joedalia for Assembly District 29. I am joined by Jimmy Hum with the Cannabis Compliance Board, as well as Mike Morton with the Attorney General's Office. This bill, as I'll be quick on the policy, this bill is about cracking down on deceptive trade practices in the cannabis industry. The premise of the bill is that certain unlicensed predatory businesses have been profiting for a number of years by misleading consumers, particularly tourists in the gaming corridor, where licensed dispensaries cannot legally operate, into thinking they are dispensaries offering intoxicating marijuana products. This bill addresses that problem in two ways. First, requiring signage clarifying the nature of the business, namely that they're not a dispensary, and the nature of the products, that they do not contain intoxicating volumes of THC. And second, it clarifies that certain misleading statements about the nature of the business and/or its hemp products constitute deceptive trade practices under state law. As to fiscal impact, this is a case of overlapping jurisdiction between the CCB and the Attorney General's Office, which was the cause of the fiscal note that was temporarily placed on by the Attorney General's Office. We have since, through the amendment process and further discussions, landed on an amendment that satisfies both parties, whereby the CCB will handle the investigative arm and the Attorney General's Office will handle the levying of fines as determined by the investigative piece. So with that, I am joined by my two co-counsels who are happy to speak to. They've confirmed in writing that there are no fiscal notes from their respective organizations. I think they're happy to provide that on the record here as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining him at the table. If you could just speak to the fiscal notes as they were originally submitted and any adjustments that have been made since that submission.
Good afternoon, Chairman Moreno, members of the committee. Mike Morton, Special Assistant Attorney General at the Attorney General's Office. First, I'd like to thank the Assembly member and the CCB for working so diligently with the Attorney General's Office to craft the amendment that you should have before you. With that amendment, the Cannabis Compliance Board, with some of their new investigators, would be able to investigate these claims against these alleged deceptive trade practice violations with these hemp companies, and then those completed investigations would be sent to the Attorney General's Office, Bureau of Consumer Protection, to levy whatever penalties are deemed fit for the violation.
Thank you, Chair. James Hum, Executive Director of the Cannabis Compliance Board, JAMESHUMM. Again, I echo his comments. Thank you to the bill sponsor for bringing this forward, as well as to the AG's office for working with us. We are confident that we will be able to manage the investigative workload with the staff we have now, as well as with the hiring of the 3 additional law enforcement officers that carried over from this biennium and were approved in our budget. So we're confident we can handle that investigative workload.
Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for the presenter of the bill or his 2 phoner friends on Assembly Bill 504? Seeing that the Attorney General's Office and Business and Industry have both removed their fiscal note? Not seeing any. Thank you so much. We'll invite anyone to the table that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 504.
Good afternoon, Committee. Harrison Bond, Harrison Bohn, from Brownstein. On behalf of Deep Roots Harvest, we supported it in the Policy Committee, and we're here supporting in the Fiscal Committee. Keeping it fiscal, we think that eliminating that confusion will drive people to licensed cannabis dispensaries, which will help generate tax revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair, Committee. My name is Aisha Goins. I am representing myself, Black Joy Consulting, and I just want to thank the sponsor for highlighting this issue. This is my first time testifying on this, and I just want to make sure that we understand that hemp is an issue. It's a public service and public health issue, and so I just appreciate the sponsor for highlighting this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. A.J. Delap with the Griffin Company on behalf of the Nevada Cannabis Association. We, too, are in support of this measure. We are appreciative of the Assembly member bringing this measure forward, and we believe it's a good first step in curtailing the encroachment of hemp into the cannabis industry. We thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John Oseguera, it's OCEGUERA with Strategies 360 on behalf of Thrive Cannabis Marketplace. Ditto of my colleagues in support of the bill.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else approach the table here in Carson City and not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas, we will go to the phone line broadcast. Do we have anyone joining us that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 504?
The public line is open and working, but we have no callers at this time.
Thank you. We will move to opposition. Is there anyone here in the room in Carson City or in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 504? And not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas. Broadcast, we'll go one more time to the phone line to see if we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 504.
Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to neutral. If there's anyone here in the rooms in Carson City or Las Vegas that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 504, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone approach either one of the tables, we'll go to the phone line one last time.
Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the bill sponsor. He's shaking his head. No closing comments. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 504. Members, seeing that the fiscal notes were removed from this bill, I am going to go into the work session for Assembly Bill 504. It's a measure that you just heard, and turn the mic over to our fiscal staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 504 was just heard. It, as amended, it establishes the provisions to deceptive trade practices relating to the sales or and offering of sales of certain hemp products. There was a proposed amendment that the committee was just presented. And with that particular amendment, it appears that the fiscal impact is addressed. So, Madam Chair, if you would like to approve Assembly Bill 506, it would be amend do pass as amended. Oh, I'm sorry, 504, amend do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions? See no questions on Assembly Bill 504 as amended, I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend and do pass as amended. Second.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you. Going back to the top of our agenda, I see the sponsor of Assembly Bill 145 is here in the room. We'll open the hearing for Assembly Bill 145. It's a measure which revises provisions relating to veterans. Good afternoon and welcome to Ways.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Ruben De Silva. I'm presenting AB 145, and we'll be addressing some of the fiscal concerns of the bill. So the bill essentially does a few things. It adds some regulatory and consumer protections for folks who are representing veterans during claims processes. It also is an omnibus. It has some dealings with creating hiring programs within the state for veterans, and also allows for free entrance to Nevada State Parks and Recreation facilities for the family members of Gold Star families. I also have with me Doug Williams from the Department of Administration in Las Vegas, who's going to be describing the alleviation of the fiscal note for the bill.
Thank you so much. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Doug Williams. I'm Supervisory Human Resource Analyst in the state's Division of Human Resource Management. I've been serving as the state's and division's veteran coordinator for over 9 years. Through Governor Sandoval's initiatives, this position was created in 2015, and the state's veteran hiring program was set up in 2016, focused on veteran recruitment for the state workforce. Governor Sisolak further expanded our efforts through the creation of the Veteran Peer Mentor Program via executive order in 2019, which focuses on retaining veteran employees. Since 2016, these programs have serviced over 10,000 veterans and military spouses and increased the percentage of veteran employees in the state workforce from 1.8% of the state workforce to as high as 6.2%. Additionally, the recommendation to codify these programs has received tremendous support from the veteran community at the Northern and Southern Nevada Veteran Symposia last year, and is the top recommendation by the Interagency Council on Veterans Affairs in their 2024 ICVA Biennium Report. Finally, the Division of Human Resource Management has removed the fiscal note as we're able to absolve these costs associated with the provisions of this bill and as amended as it relates to these programs. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm glad to answer any questions that you may have for the committee.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Also, there's a second fiscal note that was put onto the bill from the Department of Nevada Veteran Services, and that was removed through an amendment. The fiscal note was placed on the free internment of spouses of veterans, but that entire section was amended out, and the NDVS was able to then remove its fiscal note from the bill. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And I have to say I've received a lot of emails about this bill from both sides of it, and I have a conceptual amendment from you, but I also have been talking with representatives from the other side that also have a conceptual amendment. Have you seen their conceptual amendment from Brownstein?
It's Ruben De Silva for the record. Yes, I have.
Okay. And you do not accept the Brownstein amendment as a friendly amendment?
Ruben De Silva for the record. No, we used their amendment as a basis and added 4 sort of edits into the amendment. So firstly, there's a clause here that you have to disclose to the veteran that you are not accredited by the VA, have no relationship with the Nevada Department of Veteran Services, and this needs to be now declared to the veteran who's receiving services from the companies who represent and want to work in this arena. Secondly, we put a cool-down period, which is kind of a practice that the Department of Veterans Affairs in D.C. kind of wants in these sort of matters, where a veteran is released from active duty to go about a year before they're solicited, for these sort of like services. Secondly, there was a cap on the compensation for initial claims of $1,000. The original bill said that you couldn't charge at all unless you were accredited. So this bill will allow for a $1,000 cap on services provided to the veteran for the initial claims and increases, but it would be unlimited for the other portion, when it comes to appeals, which is where the veterans really need their help. And the fourth part is that the Department of Veteran Services would serve as an oversighting sort of entity, a body here in this state. The issue really is that the federal government has not acted on this matter, and there is no sort of regulatory process. And there's an attempt now, not just in Nevada, across the country, to kind of rein in on the industry and the business practice and to put some safeguards in place. So we believe that the department best suited for this is the Nevada Department of Veteran Services, and they've said that they'd be more than happy and are willing to actually serve as a referee in this arena. And then lastly, I put a clause in here that said that none of this mandatory language would apply to entities that are already accredited by the VA or who provide the service for free.
And then my last question for you before we go to members for questions. The cap of $1,000, do you feel that would cover all of the expenses that would be incurred, whether it's, getting medical records, that type of thing? $1,000 sounds like a lot, but in today's economy, it really isn't. So.
Thank you, Chair, for the question. Ruben De Silva for the record. We believe it would. If you look at the actual scope of the business, it's a pretty widespread business. I visited the actual site. There are hundreds of employees who work there. And now you got to think about this, a constant sort of, a vetting of new and recruiting of new clients. We believe that $1,000 for doing work now that in some ways is deemed working in the gray area of the law. And a second sort of notion here that is relatively easy to do. I've done a lot of these claims myself. It's not like hours and weeks of worth of work. It's a matter of minutes in its totality. So we believe that $1,000 for a few hours worth of work is adequate compensation.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Assembly Member Watts.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm looking through the 2 amendments, and so I just had a clarifying question. So you said that you kind of looked at this and then worked to incorporate some of these things in the components you laid out. There's just different structures. So could you just speak to what are the elements that were proposed in the other amendment that we have before us that were incorporated into your amendment?
So Ruben De Silva for the record. Thank you for the question, Assembly Member. So we went off the basic structure here. So addressing the issue with the prohibiting the upfront charges, that's actually in here. So there's a one-time paid fee, and I know myself and the chair talked about this. So there's no reoccurrence of fees down the line, which is also a concern that did come up within many of the veterans groups and associations that are dealing with this matter. Second, we did look at the presumptive period of active duty release. We believe that there should be a mandatory 1-year cooldown as opposed to the proposed language from VGB that says that unless the veteran signs a waiver, then they could approach the veteran. We believe that there should be at least a 1-year mandatory cooldown period from the discharge of active duty to the time of some sort of service that's going to be requested of a veteran or the recruitment of a client. Thirdly, here, Part C, we did incorporate that. We put the disclosure language. This again, my amendment is exactly VBG's amendment with just a few edits. We took their exact language and then added in there that they must also disclose the fact that they are unaccredited and have no affiliation with the U.S. Department of Veteran Services or the Nevada Department of Veteran Services. Part E, we already mentioned that about the fees being one time and they can't be in perpetuity. We did incorporate Part F into the language. That's unchanged. And that's most of the sort of language that we took from the amendment from VGB with the edits that I just mentioned.
Assemblymember Bacchus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I was just looking at these fees because I was just comparing the cap of the 1,000 versus in the other amendment, it's 5 times the net monthly increase. And I didn't know if there was room on behalf of the bill sponsor. All I keep thinking is sometimes, and I don't know if they would do this or not, I'm not familiar with this area, so I don't want to make any accusations, but I know that there could be like, I would think people would work harder if they know like they could get a little more. And so I just worry if you just like cap something, then it could, I don't know, I don't want it to restrain either. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there for thought to be considered if there was a way that like both sides could reach an agreement when you're looking at it from that perspective.
Ruben De Silva for the record. Thank you, Assembly Member, for that comment. So the cap would only be for the initial claim. So when the veteran first comes to the service and says, hey, look, I need some help. Would you mind handling this case for me? The initial increase is what's going to be capped. Now, if they want to go ahead and serve that veteran for the appeal, which is the much more difficult part, and I'm a veteran, I've been through this process, the appeal is where the vets need the help. That's unlimited. They can charge whatever they want for that for that service there. So the initial claim and the initial increase is where we want the cap. And again, with the passage of the PAC Act, we're expecting like $130 billion to come from the federal government into these arenas. There's a lot of money out there, and we want to have some sort of safeguards in place in an area that is really unregulated. There's no regulations in the state of Nevada, really, for these industries. So this is the real stepping stone. We want to, keep working on this issue, but we feel that this amendment, and we put a lot of work into this. I personally put a lot of work in trying to get to a place where all the sides, can live with the issue, over the next 2 years, maybe into the next legislative session. But we believe that this approach with capping the initial fees, the initial claims, and then having an unlimited sort of ability to work a contract out with the veteran for the appeals is a good place when it comes to the actual compensation.
I keep thinking about this because I'm like, if someone's able to charge $1,000 up front, they could just take that $1,000 and kind of just do the little work and be done. But if it's on the back end, like I think about contingency fees. I do a lot of like legal work in a realm where people charge a contingency fee. And so when I look at this other amendment, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. It's kind of like a contingency fee that you collect on the back end versus upfront. But I feel sometimes, and we see it in the legal world, and I just, like I said, I'm not making any representations about those that work in the space. I'm just not as familiar with it. If you get like a fee up front, sometimes work isn't done right away, or, so I don't know. I just kind of think about that when I'm looking at these two things and just kind of putting food for thought out there for you.
Members, are there any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you so much. I'll ask you to step back, take a seat, and we'll invite to the table anyone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 145. Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. We'll go to our phone line. Do we have anyone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 145?
Chair, we have no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. We will move to opposition. If there's anyone here that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 145.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Francisco Morales here representing Veteran Benefits Guide. I'll leave my remarks on the side just to answer some of the questions that were brought up. About 95% of the language in both amendments came from us. We believe in going after the bad actors, but we are not one of them. Since the New Jersey, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals recently held that a New Jersey statute that's very similar to this one is likely unconstitutional, the next best thing to put us out of business and deprive veterans of choice is to impose these arbitrary and rushed fee caps. Just for reference, Louisiana recently did a similar approach. Their fee cap is $12,500. Now, I'm not saying that should be the fee cap, but I'm just saying that's what was enacted in Louisiana. We believe that a performance-based model is better because we're not taking any money up front. We're not guaranteeing any benefits. We only get paid if we're able to increase the benefits after the fact. So there is money that goes into being able, putting forth the overhead, having intake specialists, case managers, and really providing the best possible service for the veteran. And that's particularly important because 70% of the veterans that we serve come to us after going and not being satisfied with the free services that are provided out there already. So that's what we believe, that the 5-time net benefit cap is a better approach, and only if we are successful in increasing those benefits. We are not supportive, and we want to go after the folks that are charging upfront fees, taking money from veterans, and then not getting back and providing quality service. I asked our folks to pull up some numbers. On average, we spend 36 hours with the veteran helping them with their claim. Case managers, intake specialists, on average, they see between 6 and 8 different people in 6 to 8 different departments to make sure that we are providing the best quality service to them. Appeals is what we want to avoid. Appeals is where attorneys can charge, according to the conceptual amendment, unlimited amount of fees. We would rather the veteran have a very well put together initial claim so that they could avoid the high unlimited fees of appeals, but not just the fees, the anguish and the years and years that sometimes appeals can take. So that's why we are opposing the conceptual amendment. We don't want upfront fees. We prefer the performance-based net increase model. I want to end by saying that our company also employs 184 Nevadans. 70% of those folks are people of color, and we believe that our diversity is part of the key of why we've been so successful in helping veterans. So as you consider this bill, please think about the families that we employ and the veterans that are desperately waiting for our help. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Daniel Stewart for the record, DANIELSTWART. I'm here on behalf of the Latin Chamber of Commerce. The Latin Chamber of Commerce also opposes AB 145. I understand this is a money committee, and I'll keep my objections fiscally related. The committee has heard painful testimony all session long about the situation of our state finances now and in the future. We all want to grow our economy and our tax base. A company like VBG is a Latino-owned Nevada business that employs, as you just heard, over 180 people and provides countless benefits to veterans all over the country. Rather than celebrate this success, the bill in its original version and now as amended with this $1,000 fee cap wants to stifle it. Now I'd ask why. Why is the reason for this? Well, you've seen in the record a lot of defamatory claims about scams, predators, and so forth. I've paid pretty close attention to the policy committees on this. We're now almost done with session, and as far as I can tell, not a single person has been brought forward to claim that they've been scammed or preyed upon or used this service or they were unsatisfied with the services that they were providing. I think that's important if that's going to be the justification for potentially negative economic consequences. So I'd close. Please don't harm our economy and shrink our tax base with this bill. Vote no. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one else at the table here in Carson City, we'll go down south to Las Vegas. And you can go ahead and get started.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brandon Mills. I'm a service-disabled Army veteran, a business owner, a member of the Southern Nevada Veterans Chamber of Commerce, Veterans Social Club, and the VFW, and I'm speaking on my own behalf. I'm here today to strongly oppose Section 1 of AB 145. This bill would block independent private companies from assisting veterans in navigating the complex VA claims process, efficiently cutting off a crucial lifeline to those who have already sacrificed for this country. As someone who has recently gone through the VA claims process and was assisted by a non-accredited organization, I can tell you that dealing with the VA system is overwhelming, confusing, and often discouraging. Without expert assistance, many veterans are left struggling to access the benefits they have rightfully earned. The reality is that VA accredited representatives alone cannot meet the overwhelming demand for claims assistance. Independent organizations step in to fill that gap, providing veterans with the guidance and advocacy they need to get their disability compensation. Taking away this option would leave thousands of veterans lost in bureaucratic red tape, delaying or denying the support they deserve. Let's be clear, AB 145 is not about protecting veterans. It is about restricting their choices, pitting vets against vets, and lifting a giant middle finger to those that sacrificed for our country. Passing this bill would send a clear message that Nevada values bureaucracy over the well-being of those who served. I urge you to stand with our veterans and reject AB 145. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Miguel Sierra. I served as the former volunteer coordinator for NDVS and a former Army National Guard service member. I am a current Navy chaplain, and through both my works and personal experience, I've seen firsthand how difficult it is for veterans to access the benefits they deserve. When I sought assistance from the VA for my own eligibility, I was told I didn't qualify, not because I hadn't served, but because of VA's complex system. It wasn't until I connected with a Veterans Benefit Guide that I was able to understand my options and receive the guidance I needed. If I, someone who worked in veteran service, struggled with the VA's process, I can only imagine how much harder it is for others, especially aging or disability veterans. At the Veterans Home, where I previously worked, I worked with VBG, and I've seen the impact. Their impact is undeniable. They've donated $5,000 to NVAL, which goes to our veterans. Provided volunteers, supported key events like our Veterans Day ceremony, which brought together Governor Lombardo, Senator Cortez. VBG is more than just a business. They are veterans helping veterans. That's why I'm deeply concerned about AB 145. While I support efforts to protect veterans from fraud, this bill would eliminate legitimate organizations like VBG that provide crucial assistance. The VA is already overwhelmed. If this bill passes it as written, many veterans will be left without guidance, making it even harder for them to access the benefits they earn. Rather than removing private assistance entirely, I urge the committee to consider safeguards, such as accreditation requirements and oversight so that veterans are protected while still having access to the support they need. As a service member and someone who worked with veterans every day, I ask you to reconsider AB 145's approach and ensure that the veterans retain access to every available resource. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Robert Kay, ROBERTKAY. I'm a case manager at Veteran Benefits Guide. It's honestly been one of the most rewarding careers I've ever had, to be able to help veterans and change their lives. I have a good friend who lives here in Las Vegas who was stuck at 90% for years. He'd worked through VSOs, he tried it on his own, could never get to 100%. He decided to give us a try since there's no upfront cost and there's no fee unless we receive a favorable decision. Within a few months, he received 100% and he wished he would have came to us a lot sooner. It's not that we're better, we just have a lot more resources and manpower to really invest in each veteran that they deserve. If we were so bad, why would so many veterans refer their family members and friends to us? Every month, I personally receive about 20 to 30 referrals from all over the country and even some outside of our country. I recently helped a veteran who lives in Pahrump and now working with his brother, his father, and one of his best friends all here in Southern Nevada. I urge you to oppose AB 145 so we can continue helping veterans.
Thank you so much. You can go ahead.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Andre Rose. For the record, that's ANDRE ROSE, and I am here in opposition to AB 145. I myself am a U.S. Army veteran, and I know veterans personally who struggle to get the benefits they deserve, even while using the free resources available to them. Over the years, we've changed the lives of many veterans. I myself have helped veterans who were about to lose their house, their car, and I've seen veterans that were so stressed due to financial circumstances that they were on the brink of self-destruction. The work that we've done has truly impacted these people's lives, which begs the question, if I wasn't able to support those veterans in their time of need, how would their stories have turned out? Additionally, we inform all veterans of free services available, yet and still they choose to work with us, which begs the question, if there is no need for companies like this, why does the market exist? Please vote no for AB 145.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Ro Moreno and members of the committee. My name is Alex Aldrich. That's ALEX ALDRICH, and I am here in opposition to AB 145. As a veteran and in my role at Veteran Benefits Guide, I regularly attend community events and speak with veterans. Many in the veteran community feel they need additional resources for navigating the VA disability claims process. And they think that the support provided by veteran service organizations and accredited attorneys, while well-intentioned, is inadequate. I've heard directly from countless veterans who our company has positively impacted. This bill takes away veterans' rights and limits their ability to choose how they obtain the benefits they deserve. Proponents of this bill have suggested that filing a VA disability claim is a matter of about an hour's work and believe that all we do is submit paperwork. This can't be further from the truth. Each claim undergoes a multi-departmental quality review process, ensuring that it has been properly developed before proceeding to the next steps. I've actually personally worked with many veterans and seen the countless hours that go into processing each claim. Our staff is highly trained in the nuances of the VA disability claims process and supported by systems and processes that we continually refine and improve. When a veteran works with VBG, they have an entire team working to guide them through the process. I urge you to oppose this misguided and misleading legislation and instead work to find a compromise that puts reasonable guardrails in place to protect veterans while protecting their right to use honorable services like VBG. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines. Broadcast, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 145?
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 145, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is Dora Martinez, and we ditto the prior speakers. It's very hard to get assistance for my son, who is a veteran, disabled military person. So we ditto this bill. Thank you. Comment.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, you have no more callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 145, I invite you to the tables here in Carson City and in Las Vegas. Good evening. Since the gentleman at the table got to the table in Las Vegas first, we'll start in Las Vegas and come back to Carson City.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Fred Wagar, W-A-G-A-R, representing the nearly 30,000 members and dependents of the Veterans of Foreign Wars and Disabled American Veterans. While the amendment to AB 145 does not have the key issues of our organizations, which are the fees charged to veterans for initial and increased claims, as well as ensuring the corporations working with veterans' claims are accredited by the VA, our organizations are moving from opposition to the bill being amended to neutral. If passed, we will continue to work with the legislators to ensure corporations working with veterans meet the same criteria as all other organizations who are involved in this honorable service. Keeping in mind that the corporation expects the veteran to do the preparatory actions, they mostly simply send all documents into the VA. Based on existing VA regulations, these entities are not even supposed to be doing initial or increased claims at all, only appeals. The opposition argues that the language used may be unconstitutional, and yet, as Assemblyman De Silva pointed out, the language he used actually came from them. So as far as this amendment has come, we will not stand in opposition to the amendment, and we'll be changing our position from changing our opposition to the amendment to AB 145 to neutral, with the promise to continue working with legislators to always improve protection for Nevada's veterans. We would like to thank Assemblyman De Silva for the work he has put into this bill, and for the Assembly Ways and Means for the hard work you are putting in to wrapping up this session. And we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here with us. You can go ahead here in Carson City.
Chair and committee members, for the record, my name is Andrew Lee Pilbit. I'm the chairman of the United Veterans Legislative Council for Nevada, and we've moved to neutral with the latest conceptual amendment by De Silva. We think that we've crossed a big bridge to meet somewhere in the middle on this, and it's a very difficult thing, as the primary thing is this was the number one issue voted by the veterans statewide. We're sharks, as in their view. So, but we are neutral. We think that the amendment is a sincere effort to bridge part of that gap between us and the other party. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Romel Ferrer, for the record, Rommel, F as in Frank, Errer, Romel Ferrer. I'm the Deputy Director of Benefits for Nevada Department of Veteran Services. On behalf of NDVS Director, Colonel Retired Devine, we recognize the conceptual agreement, and we will continue to work accordingly with the stakeholders and other entities involving AB 145 remaining neutral. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one else at the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone line. Do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 145?
Chair, your public line is open and working. You have no additional callers at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll invite the bill sponsor back to the table with any closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair. Just a few closing remarks here, and to address some of the issues that were brought up during the opposition. So one, LCB did actually give their opinion on the First Amendment sort of question here, and they said that there was no infringement on First Amendment rights based upon the original language of the bill, and most certainly the way that it's now amended. So there wasn't really no, from the opinion of LCB at least, there was no First Amendment issues. 4 states have passed this exact bill. 22 other states, as of this moment, right now, have brought this legislation as well to their state houses. Louisiana did get the bill passed with the VBG amendment, but without the signature of the governor. They did not. It was also, again, a bit of a controversial issue out there. The governor did not sign that bill. So again, I also wanted to mention this whole issue about initial claims versus appeals. About anywhere from 50 to 60% of initial claims are brought back as appeals. And that's really where the vets need their help. From all the discourse that I've had with actors in and around VBG does not really work with the claims. They go only for the initial claim, which, by the way, getting compensated for the initial claim is illegal according to federal law. So unless you're accredited. We have said that another way forward would be that if every individual at VBG who works with veterans, every employee becomes accredited, we would be okay with that. But they have not discussed that matter with us. But we would be okay with every single individual who handles the case of a veteran. If they become accredited, that would be a way forward here. Again, to suffice for the fact that being compensated for initial claims is against the law. And as Mr. Lepelbit mentioned, this was the number one issue. This issue was brought to me by the veterans community when I went to the, as many of you have, to the United Veterans Legislative Council that meets every year before the legislative session. They tally up a bunch of issues that they want us to address as legislators. This was by far the number one issue. They said that quote unquote claim sharks, large and large ones, corporate ones, are an issue that they want us to address and deal with, and at least come up with some sort of safeguards. They proposed the original language in Section 1, which has been amended to allow for some compensation and a plethora of different safeguards that are in place there, as well as oversight from the Nevada Department of Veteran Services. So again, this issue was the number one issue that was brought to me by the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, the Military Order of the Purple Heart, the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, the Marine Corps League, the Vietnam Veterans of America. I mean, they were unanimous on this. I mean, that's why I took it on, because there was such a fervor and such a clamor to get this legislation to the 83rd session. And then lastly, I'll say this, and I'll close on this. So we do understand that the real issue here is the lack of federal movement on this. It's like immigration. If the federal government doesn't move on an issue, then states have to act and have to create some kind of maybe regulatory. In some issues, you see states, liberalizing opportunities for undocumented immigrants. In some states, you have the National Guard at the border. So if the federal government doesn't work on an issue and doesn't address it, it does, I believe, fall upon us. So what we're doing here in this amendment is creating safeguards in place that are going to be overseen by the Nevada Department of Veteran Services. We're saying that the initial claim will be capped at $1,000. And then after that, we can have you can have contractual agreements with veterans to work on the more difficult portions of the claims process, which is always going to be the appeal. And then lastly, I'll close on this saying that, if you when it's all said and done here, the law is a law. And here we have a big business that's asking all of us to change the law to fit their business model. And I'll close on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 145. And as I said at the start, when we came out of recess, members of this committee would be attending Third House. That has started. We are a little late. We invite you all to join us for Third House. We will be coming right back here after Third House. We have 2 more bills on our first agenda for the day, and we may be work sessioning some more, and then we will roll right into our second agenda for the day. So we will be in recess.
It's okay. You didn't change any. What was that? I'm trying to figure out.
Test 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Test 1 2 1 2.
Check 1 2 1 2.
Test 1 2 1 2.
We're just hearing. Good evening, and we will call the Committee on Ways and Means back to order, and we will go back to our first agenda of the day, and we will open the hearing for Assembly Bill 188. Assembly Bill 188 revises provisions relating to the Public Employees Benefit Program, and will invite Assemblyman Carter to the table. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair Monroe Moreno and members of the Ways and Means Committee. This is Max Carter from Assembly District 12, and I'm here to talk about the fiscal note on AB 188, whose primary goal was to restore early retiree health care coverage to our state workers. So yesterday we received a email from Celestina Glover with PEB. Said the fiscal note is driven primarily by admin fees and claims costs for the retirees and dependents coming onto the self-funded plans that previously would not have been eligible. This amendment does not address those costs, so I'm unable to remove the fiscal note. In response to that, we turned in the current proposed amendment that does just that. It removes that reinstatement portion. It keeps in the studies. It keeps in raising the cap on the HRAs. And then we get hit again today with a fiscal note that dropped it down to $214,832 for 2 management analyst positions for the upcoming biennium and $614,800 for the future biennia. This is kind of, it seems a bit absurd. And I'm going to ask my people I'm working with, Tess Opperman and Cassie with the AFSCME, to come up and hopefully answer questions and explain the inconsistencies in what we're seeing here. And with that, we're ready to turn it over to questions.
Well, you said you were going to invite some people up to the table to help explain some inconsistencies. Before we go to the questions, let's
Yes, ma'am.
have your phone or friends
Yes,
join
ma'am.
you.
That was what my intent was that it hopefully would come up during questioning about the realities of this fiscal note that is adding in half the staff that it would have taken to do the other stuff, and it's just a bit absurd. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tess Opperman.
Tess Opperman, for the record here on behalf of the AFSCME retirees. I certainly don't want to disagree with PEB, and I believe Celestina may be in the room. So I think in terms of is she not here? Okay, that's okay. So I don't necessarily want to disagree with a state agency. What I will say, so what the bill currently does, it is asking for PEB to produce a report every other year on the costs that Medicare retirees face. So Medicare retirees are taken off the PEB plan, they go on to Medicare, and then they pay for their own Medicare Part B, supplemental plans, dental and vision. And so what we are asking is that PEB produce a report to find out exactly what those costs are that are faced by Medicare retirees. They have said that requires a full-time position, so I think that's part of what the fiscal note does, and I would love for PEB to be able to answer those questions about why that might require a full-time employee. The other key portion of the bill is that it raises, so I've talked to Ways and Means about the $13 per month contribution that retirees get. So that's a calculated amount that goes into their HRA account. They can use that to pay for some of their Medicare expenses. That amount currently is capped at $8,000. This bill merely increases that cap to 5 years of the maximum contribution, so that puts it around $15,000. So that's not asking for more money that goes to the retirees, that is just raising the cap on that account. And so I don't know where that falls into the fiscal note as well. So those are the pieces of the fiscal note. We have taken out the majority of the bill that caused the fiscal note, which is reinstating health care for retirees. That is completely out of the bill. Now what remains in the bill is the HRA increase to the increase to the cap, and then the report that we're asking PEB to complete, so that we have an idea of what those costs are that are facing Medicare retirees.
Thank you. And just to make sure everyone understands the HRA increase, you're not asking the state to increase their amount. It is actually the employee, the member, who's increasing the amount to their HRA that they could put in if they so choose to.
Yes, ma'am. What it boils down to is when Medicare eligible retirees were moved off of the state plan, they were given the HRAs. The HRAs, and please correct me if I'm wrong, were put in place to allow them, the retirees, to purchase supplemental programs and to round out basic Medicare coverage that used to be covered by the state plan. There was a cap put on at $8,000. It not only is, it's their money that was negotiated as a benefit that was transitioned to save money. We've also been doing this since, 2011, 2012? And there's been inflation and all sorts of other things that make that $8,000 number get less and less useful.
Tess Opferman for the record, but I do just want to clarify exactly what you said, which is that no, the state is not increasing the amount they are paying the retirees. We are just saying that if a retiree is not spending their full money, then their account can grow to that amount. It doesn't create an increase on the state side whatsoever.
Thank you so much. Members, questions? We will start with Assembly Member Torres Fawcett.
Thank you. And I just wanted to kind of, express, I know PEP is not here right now, but when we are able to get an answer, I would like to understand why it would require 1 FTE for this reporting. I don't think that makes sense. I mean, maybe 0.25 FTE, maybe 0.5 FTE, but I think a full FTE for something that would be done once every 2 years, is it that you stated, just doesn't make sense to me. So I would like more clarity on that from PEP when they are available, and I'm sure they'll watch back this hearing at some point.
Assembly Member Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I just want to make sure that I'm also understanding what is being deleted out and what's being kept. So if we look at the first reprint, we're taking a look at section 3 that's on page 4. That's going to be taken out, but section 3.7 that's on page 5 that starts at line 28 down to the next page, line 2 of page 6, that's going to be kept in. Is that correct? Here, you can borrow it. Yeah. It's okay. Third house has already happened, so nobody will make fun of you about it. Sorry, is that too soon?
So yes, that is correct.
Follow up, if I may.
Thank you. So just to make sure that I've got it correct, when I take a look at these changes, and then I take a look at the fiscal note, and there's nobody here to be able to answer this realistically, but I'm just trying to figure out how are we supposed to know what's in the future if there's already a break in service, I guess is kind of what the questions are around there. How have you, I guess people that have worked on this in the past, how have you been able to figure out, like, I guess the amounts that have been utilized in the past? What has been the actuary kind of process that has been utilized in the past from your understanding? Or is this something that I need to ask the manager when or somebody from PEB shows up?
Max Carter, for the record. Yes, that's a question that would be asked for them because they specifically left it open-ended on actuarial costs.
Any other questions? Assemblymember Hafen.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assemblymember Carter, for being here this evening. I'm just trying to get a little bit better understanding on the conceptual amendment and the intent, and I just wanted to touch on the fiscal note that PEB had put on here. They had originally stated that it would immediately increase the liability by approximately $175 million to PEB. And so I just want to know how the amendment and if PEB has actually provided you with any update to that $179 million liability with the conceptual amendment yet.
Basically, the conceptual amendment does away, Max Carter, for the record, it does away with that liability because the liability was being calculated on future benefits. We took out those future benefits. Those are gone.
And Chair, just real quick follow-up. Could you provide that information from PEB as soon as you get it?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Right, I know the original intent was to add back in what we call what is the name for the folks that we lost, that were the orphans? We're not going to be able to do that with this bill, right? We're just asking PEB to make a report, right? To increase the amount that those retirees can have in their HRA so that that money can go for their use for medical expenses. But no other thing we're requiring of PEB as this bill is currently amended.
Max Carter, for the record, no. That you hit the nail on the head. It's lifting the cap, and it's also requesting that biannual report on what retiree benefits are costing.
Well, I ask that you reach out to PEB. I don't have much time to be able to move this bill, so the sooner the better. Tomorrow would be ideal so that we could work session this and move it out of this committee, but with the current fiscal note on it and having them not here to testify to it makes it difficult. I too do not understand why there would be an increase when the original intent has been removed, so. And I'll have my staff reach out as well. Members, any other questions? Not seeing any, thank you so much. We'll ask you to take a step back and we'll invite to the table anyone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 188.
Kent Irvin, K-E-N-T-E-R-V-I-N, Nevada Faculty Alliance, good evening. AB 188, as passed by the Government Affairs Committee, would promote the retention of employees, especially our mid-career professionals who carefully consider retirement benefits when deciding to stay or move out of state. As explained in our written testimony, the cost of restoring retiree benefits for post-2011 hires would be modest and not necessarily require a general fund appropriation. So we would have supported the passage of the bill without amendment. With today's conceptual amendment, however, the bill is still worthwhile to address other reductions of benefits for PEB retirees that have occurred since 2011 and provide a report once per biennium on the cost of coverage for Medicare exchange retirees. While PEB probably could use more staff to provide better service for participants, the remaining provisions of AB 188 do not create a need for more staff. With PEB moving to the Nevada Health Authority, perhaps the additional staff budgeted for the Health Authority could assist PEB with the small biennial reporting requirement in Section 1 instead of adding staff at PEB. I understand the Health Authority will have actuaries on staff. Please pass AB 188.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good evening, Chair Monroe Moreno, members of the committee. For the record, Carlos Hernandez, representing the Nevada State AFL-CIO. We just like to echo the comments made by Dr. Irvin from the Nevada Faculty Alliance and urge the committee to support AB 188. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Ryan Beeman, representing the professional firefighters in Nevada. I'm here today to express our strong support for AB 188, particularly the provisions that raise the minimum cap of the health reimbursement account for our Medicare, or for our retirees, or for our members, excuse me. Supporting AB 188 is more than just about numbers. It's about standing with those who have stood for us. I urge you to pass this bill for Nevada firefighters and for their sacrifice that they do for our state. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Cassie Charles on behalf of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. We are here in strong support of AB 188 and want to thank you for hearing this bill today. Our retirees rely on the benefits provided by this legislative body, and it is time we update the health reimbursement arrangement. These were retirees who have dedicated 15 to 20 years of service to our state, and it is now time to improve the benefits we provide in repayment for the tireless work they provide to our state. Thank you.
Thank you. See no one else at the table here in Carson City. We'll go down to Las Vegas. Good evening.
Good evening. Doug Unger, DOUG, UNGER, UNLV Chapter President, Nevada Faculty Alliance, and member of the UNLV Employee Benefits Advisory Committee. AB 188, as amended, restores state employee freedom to save in HRA accounts above the $8,000 current cap in order to pay for uncovered costs of health care. Having served as a faculty advocate to PEB and its insurance plans for UNLV employees for 14 years, I can cite examples when this freedom to save for healthcare planning could insulate faculty and staff from difficult financial stress. For example, the newly retired engineering professor who hopes to pay for dental implants to avoid the discomfort of dentures. The newly retired campus photographer who must go out of state for a complex back surgery with a provider that will cost more than the out-of-pocket maximum. And the spouse of a retiree who has just received news that an expensive off-formulary drug with very high costs can provide some quality of life in the remaining years. These are real-world examples, and I could cite more in support of this correction to the existing HRA account rules. Removing the cap can at least add some peace of mind to retirement after decades of service to our state. The cost analysis report for Medicare versus non-Medicare retirees and the study to improve customer service for PEB are also welcome improvements. It's disappointing that what we believe to be an unreasonably excessive fiscal note from PEB has caused this bill to be stripped of restoring state contributions for post-2011 hired retirees. Still, I hope you all agree that what remains in AB 188 is well worth supporting. Thank you.
Thank you. And not seeing anyone else in Las Vegas, we will go to the phone lines. Broadcast, do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 188?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 188, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers to provide testimony.
Thank you so much. We will move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 188, I invite you to the table.
Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Taylor Avery, and I'm the Manager of Political Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber's primary concern is the large fiscal impact of the restoration of the PEB health subsidy in Section 3 of the bill. If that language is removed as proposed in the newest amendment, we believe it will address our concerns about the solvency of the PEB fund, and we would move our opposition to neutral. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else that approaching the table here in Carson City to provide testimony in opposition, and no one at the table in Las Vegas. We will go to the phone lines again to see if there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 188.
Chair, there are no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you so much. We will move to neutral. If there is anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 188, I invite you to the tables in Las Vegas and Carson City, and not seeing anyone approach either table. Broadcast, I am going to assume that we do not have anyone on the phone line to provide testimony. Is that correct?
Yes, Chair, that is correct.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the presenters if they have any closing comments. And he is shaking his head, so we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 188, and we look forward to getting that information from you for PEP. Thank you. And we're finally up to our last bill from our morning agenda. We will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 596, which makes appropriations for the implementation of certain collective bargaining agreements, and invite our GFO to the table. And members, this has not had a hearing at any other part. It's a brand-new bill, so this will be the policy and fiscal hearing on this bill. So feel free to ask as many questions as you need to for this bill. Thank you so much, and good evening. Welcome to Ways.
Good evening, Tiffany Greenmeyer, Director for the Governor's Finance Office, and here with me is David Lenzer, Administrator for the Governor's Finance Office, and Broshura Washington from Division of Human Resource Management to help us answer any questions. Okay. And I'm doing really good now that I'm not stuck in the elevator. Thank you, Fire Department.
Okay, which elevator were you in so we all know not to use it when we go home tonight? Yeah.
I strongly recommend you do not use the Blaisdell elevator.
Okay. All right. Well, if you want to just go ahead and walk us through the bill, and then members can ask questions at the end.
Okay, so Assembly Bill 596 makes an appropriation, a general fund appropriation for the implementation of the collective bargaining agreements. Section 1, subsection 1, makes a general fund appropriation of $90,209,716 to the Governor's Finance Office for American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, Local 4041, Unit A, E, and F to support salary increase of 3% each year of the biennium, retention incentive, annual leave payout up to 40 hours, tool allowance, 4 personal leave days, and union leave that is pulled for 40 hours, or 4,000 hours. Moving on to subsection 2, makes an appropriation to the Governor's Finance Office in the amount of $57,464,302 for American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, Local 4041, Unit C, for salary increases of 3% each year of the biennium, retention incentive, annual leave payout up to 40 hours, tool allowance, and 4 personal leave days, union leave, a pool of 4,000 hours. Moving on to subsection 3, makes a general fund appropriation of $25,125,646 to the Governor's Finance Office for Nevada Police Union, Unit G, for salary increase 3% each year of the biennium, and longevity pay, education pay, special adjustment pay, and annual leave cash payout for up to 40 hours, and post-certification incentive, and union and equipment allowance, footwear allowance, line of duty death benefit, and that's $20,000 each year. Moving on to subsection 4, makes a general fund appropriation of $7,410,587 to the Governor's Finance Office for Nevada Police Union. Unit L for salary increase, 3% each year of the biennium.
Subsection 7.
Oh, that's good.
Subsection 4 is 1 million.
H? No, this is L. Sorry about that. It's L. Is it wrong? Hang on one sec, we might have one incorrect. Which one is H? Is that MPU? MPUOA. Tiffany Greenmar for the record. Subsection 4 makes an appropriation of general fund appropriation of $1,812,372 to the Governor's Finance Office for MPOA Unit H to cover, I don't have the number. Supposed to be 3%. No, it's down here. For personal leave days, annual leave cash out for 40 hours, holiday pay, nope, sorry, post-certificate pay, special adjustment pay, and employees will receive uniform and equipment allowance, and union leave of 1,000 hours per fiscal year. So this is step 5. No, I'm on 5, okay. So moving on to subsection 5, makes a general fund appropriation of $7 million. This. Makes an appropriation of $138,891,224 for bargaining unit I, which is FOP. For for increased salary increase, for increased grade, 1 grade increase each year of the biennium, 3% increase each year of the biennium, retention incentive, longevity pay, employees muster pay, correctional officer, no, sorry, that's 0. Newly hired employees into the correctional officer series receives a recruitment bonus of $7,500. Special adjustment to pay 10%. Employee who is required to purchase uniforms and equipment will receive a uniform and equipment allowance. Annual leave cash payout of 40 hours. And union leave of up to pulled 5,000 hours. And 2 personal day leaves each year. So moving on to section 6, subsection 6 is the is KM? It's K. Subsection 6 provides a general fund appropriation to the Governor's Finance Office in the amount of $184,806. And this is to provide cancer screening, $300 per fiscal year, annual leave cash payout up to 40 hours, union leave pooled together of 400 hours. Next subsection is 7. Provides a general fund appropriation to the Governor's Finance Office in the amount of $7,410,587 for support of Nevada Police Union, Unit L, for salary increase for 3% each year of the biennium. And retention incentive, education pay, personnel leave for 2 days, special adjustment pay, and uniform and equipment allowance, footwear allowance, equipment and union leave up to 2,000 pooled hours, line of duty death, and that's 20,000 each year. And then moving on to section 8. Provides a general fund appropriation of $65,100 to the Governor's Finance Office for Battle-Born Firefighters Association, Unit O, to cover cancer screening, $300 per fiscal year, and union leave pooled of 250 hours. And that concludes all the sections of the bill, and we can stand for any questions. And sorry for the mix-up.
That, there are a number of units, so thank you so much for walking us through. Does this bill encompass all of the bargaining units within the state, or are there any that are currently outstanding?
Tiffany Greenemeier for the record. We have 2 outstanding that will be, that are placed on the special BOE May 29th. And those are FOP, and POA.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Assembly Member Pippets.
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarity, the $321 million, is that on top of the already budgeted pay bill that we've already done, or is that a part of that bill?
Tiffany Greenemeier for the record. That is on top, so it's not included in the current pay bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the question. So, do you know, or can you tell us what was included in the pay bill in association with any of the bargaining units?
Tiffany Greenemeier for the record. So none of these agreements here are in the pay bill. Part of from the previous session, 2023 session, there was the COLA increases, which are included in the pay bill. Other than that, I do not believe there's anything else funded.
Thank you for that. I'd had a few people come by my office and try to inform me that these were included, and I did not see them in the governor's bill as it was introduced, and we could not include them in the pay bill because we didn't have dollar figures. So, this $321.2 million would be money we would have to come up with on top of what we've already allocated for all the other expenses because it was not included. And as you've heard, there are 2 more outstanding bargaining units to settle and go before the BOE on the 29th, which would only increase the total dollar amount for the collective bargaining agreements. Assemblymember Brown May.
Thank you, Chair. And pardon me if you said it and I wasn't paying attention, so sorry, it's been a really long day. Actually, it's been a really long session. And then there was third house. With regard to collective bargaining, right, and treating our employees with all of the respect and consideration that they deserve for their hard works. Collective bargaining as a process is pretty lengthy, right? We have 2 sides, we come together, hopefully we meet in the middle, and we come up with a really great agreement that is really going to support our employees. I'm curious to know about the timing of these collective bargaining agreements. It seems like this is an ongoing issue, right, historically, that we don't have collective bargaining closed as we're doing the governor's budget recommendations, right? So is there, I know there's been conversation about it, is there efforts to move when we're doing negotiations for collective bargaining so that we can have that information as we're building the state budget so that we don't end up here or having to go to work program? How are we better preparing for this in the future? I don't know if you're able to speak to that here.
Bashira Washington, Administrator for the Division of Human Resource Management. Right now, as the statute states, we have to start negotiating around October. This session, we started with our preliminary meetings in September, and we finalized some negotiations last week. So it does take a lot of time, a lot of months to negotiate, especially with the number of CBAs that we have. So at the moment, I do know that there are bills that have been introduced, but as of right now, we go by what the statute currently states, which is we start around September, October.
And can I just add to that, members, you all heard a bill, Assembly Bill 356, that was sponsored by this committee. I was honored to represent it and present it in Legislative Operations, and you work sessioned it yesterday out of this committee, and that will, we worked with the Governor's Office of Finance, the representative for all of our bargaining units, to come up with the dates in that bill, and it moves the dates up for negotiation, along with the Interim Finance Committee date, so that, or the Economic Forum date, so that the bargaining time is more in line with the governor's budget, so that when the governor's budget is presented to the legislative body, these would already be settled and would be a part of the governor's budget when it's presented to this body on a biennial basis. So we collectively are working together to solve this problem so we never find ourselves here again. But yes, you can have a follow-up.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. And thank you for the clarification. I knew I saw a bill moving somewhere. I just didn't really know where in the process we were at this point. So I thank you for that. Can you just tell me, how long does a typical negotiation process take for one bargaining unit?
Bashira Washington for the record. Wow. Felt like forever. Well, it really depends because we do try to give enough time for each CBA to go over changes they would like to make, changes we would like to make. And we incorporated each one every week. There were times when it was 5 days a week, 8 to 5. 1 week, one CBA, the next week another, to ensure that we're still moving all of them through and trying to come with a collective agreement of a contract. So within the last 7-8 months, for one contract, maybe goodness, full-time, a month, Monday through Friday.
Thank you so much. Assemblymember Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Because I've also gone through bargaining in my other world when I was president of my association. So I'm confused by the amount of time that is it a completely new contract? Is that why it took so much time, or was it a complete reopening? I guess I'm confused by how much time this is, because it sounds like all of these bargaining units, this is a continuing contract. This is not a brand new contract. So I'm confused by that. That's number one. And then I do have a second question after that.
Bashir Washington for the record. So we bargained for 4 new contracts in addition to the existing contracts. So having to negotiate brand new contracts as well as trying to ensure consistency throughout, took that amount of time.
Thank you. I was unaware that there were 4 new contracts. I can see how that would take that much time. But then my other question is more, so you knew that these contracts would be coming, I would think. There was no appropriations put into the budget for it? There was no, it sounds like there was no money that was planned on for these contracts, or did I misunderstand that during the presentation?
Tiffany Grandmeyer for the record. During GovRec, there was no money set aside for any type of collective bargaining. So that's why it wasn't there.
Thank you. So, but did you know that these contracts were going through? There was, in fact, collective bargaining for days on end, but yet it was not put into the request, is what I'm trying to get at.
Tiffany Grandmeyer for the record. Yes, I knew these contracts were coming through when I started in January. I don't know what the decision was during GovRec, so I can't speak to that.
So just to clarify, though, you did know the contracts were going to be here, but it was not something that was in the amended budget presented to us, or any other budgets. It was not reflected at that time.
Tiffany Greenmeyer for the record. We didn't have any cost at that time. You know, in January, February, we didn't receive any costs until the last 2-3 weeks when the arbitrators had completed.
So there had not been, I'm so sorry, Chair, if I may ask, thank you. So there had not been, with the exception of the 4 new contracts, there had not been any consideration of what the former salaries had been.
Tiffany Greenmeyer for the record. The salaries were already included in the budget. So the existing contract was included in the budget. It's just anything that came in these agreements here was not.
And those increases came from an arbitration where clearly there was evidence to show that the employees had not been treated the way that they should have been, as if I'm understanding that correctly as well.
Bashir Washington for the record. Well, I wouldn't put it that way. The arbitrator has a decision whether to accept the state's proposal or accept the union's proposal, and for some of them, the arbitrators accepted the union's proposal, and some they accepted the state's. So,
thank you, and thank you, Chair.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is only our second time as a state having negotiations for collective bargaining, because collective bargaining was not approved by this legislative body until I believe it was the 81st legislative session.
Bashir Washington for the record. Yes, I believe you're correct, yes.
So this is really the first time we've seen the whole process in action. It is disappointing that it was not included in the executive budget, but I also understand that a number of you weren't in those seats when the budget was being created, and you got what you got when you took the job. So we are doing all that we can, and hopefully the governor signs the bill when it gets there, so encourage him to do that, so we can fix this, so we're never in this position again. But this is the first time the contracts were negotiated. We were actually out of the legislative session, and we weren't able to fund anything because you cannot fund a contract during the interim. So this is the first time we're actually doing this during the legislative session, and it seems it's a learning process for all of us of how we can do this better. Assembly Member Hafen.
Thank you, Chair. I do have two quick questions. Hopefully, just want to make sure I understand how this came about, and I think you guys have provided really good information, so if you would just correct me if I'm wrong. Number of collective bargainings came through. Obviously, some settled, some the arbitrator ruled in the state's favor, others the arbitrator ruled in the union's favor. That's kind of what brought us here today, and so when you try to budget for the what-ifs, it becomes very, very difficult. And so do I have the simplistic version of the math on how that all transpired, correct?
Tiffany Greenemar for the record. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and then if I further understand, there's still two outstanding that are going to arbitration. Is there any other moving parts right now, or is it just the two that are outstanding?
Tiffany Greenemar for the record. It's just the two that are outstanding right now. They have completed. I believe we have signed contracts now. They didn't make it on the May 23rd BOE because they weren't signed, and one contract wasn't completed.
And then, Chair, I know I said two, but I meant three. I'm sorry. And then, worst case scenario, do we have a dollar figure? Are we looking at 200,000, 20 million, or 200 million additional dollars for those additional two? And if you don't have it readily available, if you could just provide it to us later. I just want to know, what range we're looking at. Is it in the hundreds of thousands, or is it in the hundreds of millions of dollars? Which with 6 days and a few hours left is making me a little nervous, because I know the Chair of Ways and Means has been working very hard to try to find all of the pennies that we can everywhere. But so if you could, as soon as you can, get us the additional information, I would greatly appreciate it. And Chair, I thank you for the time.
Assemblyman Koenig?
Thank you, Chair. So at this point, what happens if this body doesn't approve this appropriation? I mean, we have this big, huge hole here. What happens if this body doesn't approve it?
Tiffany Greenemar for the record. Just the portions of the agreement that need appropriations do not get funded. So that part of the agreement is not valid. So they can't move forward with it.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I thank you all for presenting Assembly Bill 596. And if I ask you to take a seat, and we will invite to the table anyone that's here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 596. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Cassie Charles on behalf of the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. I want to start off by thanking this body for continuously fighting for state employees regardless of our current fiscal deficit. We represent thousands of state employees that dedicate their lives to keeping this great state running. State employees who have fought and earned their raises at the bargaining table, and we hope to see them funded. After fighting for collective bargaining rights for state employees in 2019, now is the time to stand by and continue our fierce support for state workers. This body has done tremendous things for state workers, and we hope to see that continue. We are very aware of the current budget concerns and want to thank the members of this committee and Chairman Moreno for their tireless work in finding the funds to honor our employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, committee members. Todd Inglesby, representing the Professional Firefighters Nevada, specifically Battle-Born Firefighters, which is our NDF firefighters. We obviously have went through negotiations. This is our second negotiations. We did get funded last year with the end of session, but many of our brothers and sisters did not. So we appreciate that. We appreciate your help on this important matter to make sure our members are paid just like everybody else in our state. They're deserved. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Carlos Hernandez, representing the Nevada State AFL-CIO. We'd like to echo the comments made by AFSCME 4041, as well as the Professional Firefighters of Nevada, and urge the committee to support the bill. Thank you.
Kent Irvin, KNT, ERVIN for the Nevada Fact Alliance. Ditto, and I'm here in support of our other union brothers and sisters who have collective bargaining agreements. I do have to remind you that some state employees either are not yet part of a collective bargaining agreement. There are several bargaining units in NRS 288 that have not yet organized, and there's others of us who do not have rights to collectively bargain in state law, and so we are not part of this process. I've reminded you before that on July 1st, there will be a 1.75% increase in retirement contributions for all state employees out of employers' paychecks. So that's a decrease in take-home pay. And then right now, the year-over-year inflation is about 2.5%. But if you look at the first 4 months of 2025, it's running at over a 5% annual rate. So inflation is still here. To keep take-home pay hold for all state employees, it would require somewhere around a 5% in the first year and a 3% in the second year. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else approach the table here in Carson City. I know it at the table in Las Vegas. We're going to go to the phone line. Broadcast, do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 596?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 596, please press star 9 now to join the queue.
Good evening. Alexander Marks with the Nevada State Education Association. We'd like to ditto the comments made by AFSCME and the rest of our union sisters and brothers. Supporting this bill is not just about fair wages, it's about recognizing invaluable contributions of our state employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition if there's anyone here. In Carson City, not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, I would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 596. I invite you to the table. And not seeing anyone approach the table, I will now go to the phone line again. Do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 596?
Thank you, Chair. We have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 596, I invite you to the table. And not seeing anyone approach and not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, I assume, broadcast, that we still do not have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 596.
Yes, Chair, that is correct.
Thank you so much. Any closing comments? And the presenters of the bill are shaking their heads no. I do want to just make a statement. Last legislative session, this body was in a much different financial situation. And as a legislative leader and along with my colleagues on the dais, we know and felt the sacrifices that our state employees had made for a number of years. And we did everything within our power to give raises and compensations to try to bring our state employees up to where it was comparable with other local municipalities. And we did the best we could then. I'm going to tell you, we're committed to doing the best we can now, but we're in a much different economic period. We are going to look at the contracts, look at the dollars, but I'm going to tell you, as the chair of this committee, I cannot put this state in a fiscal deficit to honor every aspect of every contract. But as a former union member myself who negotiated contracts for my union. I understand how hard it is to get to a contract, but I hope you understand the place that we are. We're going to make sure that every union gets something, but I'm not going to lie to you. It's not going to be everything that you negotiated or the arbitrator awarded, because a lot of those conversations started before we knew about the financial status we are as a state. We are committed to our state employees. We know that we are better because of you all and the sacrifices that you make for every constituent throughout the state. So I want to tell you thank you for the work that you're doing, and know that your legislative members on all sides of the aisle have your backs, and we're going to do the best that we can to get what you need, or at least to give what we can afford to give. I just want you all to know that. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 596. And believe it or not, that is the last item on our morning agenda. So we have public comment. If there's anyone that wants to make public comment before we leave and adjourn from the morning agenda, you're welcome to come to the table, and if you'd like to call in for public comment, our number is 669-900-6833. Our meeting ID is 827-6297-4900, and then please press pound. I am not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City, and I think that's only our staff member in the back. Down in Las Vegas broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to make public comment?
Thank you, Chair. Our public lines are open and working. However, we have no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. So with that, our first agenda for the day and meeting is adjourned. It will take approximately 10 minutes for IT to turn over everything in the system and start the second agenda. So this meeting is now adjourned.